Hello and welcome. It's time for Ogtv main news coming to you live from our news desk. My name is Bukola Agbakisu. On the news, President Buhari appoints an economist, Dr. Doyin Salami, as Chief Economic Advisor. INEC releases notice of election for 2022 Ekiti Governorship poll. Akwa Ibom State Government bans activities of scavengers to curb acts of criminality. France discovers new variant of COVID-19 heel. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end.
And on business news tonight, customs, immigration, 13 others failed to remit 127 billion naira to Consolidated Revenue Fund. These and more to come on the business segment of the news. I am Siniat Abaru.
Coming up on the world of sport, FIFA clears ex-England youth Ashley Plumpton for Nigeria's Super Falcons. Details of this and other stories coming on the sports segment of the news. I'm Emmanuel Dasalu. Do stay with us.
Now the news in full. As part of its efforts to further instill discipline and ensure sanity in schools, Ogun State government has mandated all parents to sign letters of undertaking before resuming for second-term academic session. The Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Professor Abayomi Arigbabu, who surveys during the stakeholders meeting with principals of public secondary schools in the state held at Lishabi Grammar School, Idiaba, Abeokuta, noted that the challenges in education sector is multidimensional, which must be addressed appropriately. Professor Arigbabu also said that principals must be actively involved in the process of inculcating values into students, urging them to also focus more on how to improve teaching and learning process in their various schools. The commissioner explained that the undertaking letter contains columns for parents, guardians, and students, adding that staggering closing time with proper monitoring by teachers and law enforcement agents in violence-prone areas will be effectively enforced.
We believe this is the most important thing. How do we bring back our schools to what it used to be? Also, it's in your interest for the schools to be safe, for you to be able to work in a safe environment. We have to devise strategies to bring fear, to bring respect, to bring honor, and to bring a sort of a life of safety into the schools where you work.
Contributing, the special advisor to the governor on primary and secondary education, Mrs. Runke Shoyombo, enjoined principals to engage in collaborative efforts with the vice principals and teachers for better academic performance. She also advised them to analyze their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in the past years and come up with strategies that can influence improvement for better standards. Responding on behalf of other principals, the President, All Nigerian Confederation of Principals of Secondary Schools, ANCOPS, Dr. Olubumi Wumiloju, commended government for providing platforms where they can rub minds together, saying she was optimistic that principals would work tirelessly and do well for the required transformation in their various schools. Meanwhile, Ogun State government is determined, in conjunction with other stakeholders in the area of education, to put an end to the issues of violence and indiscipline in all schools across the state. The State Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Professor Abayomi Arigbabu, said this in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, while rolling out strategies to curb the challenges in public schools across the state. Benga Adekoya's report is presented in this package.
It was a convergence of stakeholders in the area of education in Ogun State, and in particular, those who have been working relentlessly to put a stop to the issues of indiscipline and violence in our schools, reeling out some strategies put in place to curb the menace The State Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Professor Abeokuta, said poor parenting, social vices, and underage issues are some of the problems identified by the government.
Because apart from the having security physically on each of our schools, we need to have security strategies mapped out in terms of intelligence, in terms of surveillance, in terms of maybe support on a daily basis in our schools. So on Friday we'll have a meeting with all students association, because that's another very important stakeholder.
Professor Arigbabu hinted that undertaking forms are available and accessible both online and in the school premises, and it is mandatory for all learners, parents, and guidance to fill.
Some of the things that came up, which we have actually discussed with principals, is the need for them to be more proactive, and then to ensure that some of these behaviors are actually nipped in the bud before they become issues. So, and they have been reminded and further empowered about the need for them to actually channel the machinery that they have in their possession positively and proactively to tackle the situation.
The briefing had in attendance State Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Alhaji Waheed Odushile, Ogun Subeb Chairman Dr. Femi Bajakudumi, TESCOM Chairman Evangelist Olalekan Joshua Ifede, Special Advisor to the Ogun State Governor on Education, Mrs. Ronke Shoyombo, Special Advisor on Technical Education, Professor Joseph Odemuyiwa, among other stakeholders.
Coming from Abuja, President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed Dr. Doyin Salami as his Chief Economic Advisor. Dr. Salami, before this appointment, is the chairman of the Presidential Economic Advisory Council. A 1989 doctorate degree graduate in economics of Queen Mary College, University of London, Doyin Salami, 59, is the managing director and head market practice at Kainos Edge Consulting Limited and member of the adjunct faculty at the Lagos Business School, LBS, Pan-Atlantic University, where he recently attained the rank of senior fellow and associate professor. The chief economic advisor to the president is expected to address all issues on domestic economy and present views on them to the president, closely monitor national and international developments, trends and develop appropriate policy responses, develop and recommend to the president national economic policies to foster macroeconomic stability, promote growth, create jobs, and eradicate poverty, among others. Back home now, the first working day of the year commenced in Ogun State, with civil and public servants resuming for work after the New Year holiday. Civil servants in different ministries at the State Secretariat, Okimoson, Abeokuta, commenced today with prayers as they sought the face of God in the affairs of Ogun State, Nigeria, and the world in general. Matthew Shoomi has the details.
The first working day of the year is a fresh start for the people and the beginning of a journey of another year.
The last year was a peculiar year, and we just want to thank God that God saw us through, and I'm very hopeful that with the things that we are seeing, with the reduction in the intensity of corona in terms of hospitalization and all that, I know that this year is going to be a better year.
Ogun State Head of Service, Dr. Nafiu Aigo, called on civil servants in the state to be prepared to contribute to the vision of the government in the year.
It's a critical year in the life of this present government. There have been a lot of political activities, but we, as the engine room of the government, we need to be focused and rededicate ourselves and
The first working day of the year started with prayer session in most of the ministries visited in the state secretariats. Commissioner for Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, Barrister Femi Ogunbawo, led members of staff of his ministry in a special prayer as they were joined by the Secretary to the Ogun State Government, Mr. Tokunbo Talabi, Permanent Secretary, Governor's office, represented by Director in the Office of the Chief of Staff, Mr. Olumuyiwa Idowu, while leading members of staff in the Office of the Governor in special prayers, harped on the need for loyalty to the government and maintenance of trust reposed in them.
Of course, my message is to thank them, firstly to thank them for all the support they have been giving this government and myself, and also to implore them that they should dedicate themselves for greater service for year 2022.
Let's continue to work strongly together. Be a brother's keeper. If there's anything that is left undone by somebody who is a star, please call that person's attention to him.
Permanent Secretary, Bureau of Political Affairs and Administration, Mr. Kehinde Onosoya, urged members of staff of the Bureau to rededicate themselves to their duties and service of an administration focused on bringing development to the states. A visit to the Ogun State House of Assembly revealed that work has resumed fully as members of staff of the Assembly were seen at their duty posts performing their official duties. Meanwhile, activities have started picking up around the capital city of Abeokuta as banks and other commercial areas commence operations for the year. Matthew Showme, Ogtv News.
Workers in Ogun State have been charged to be strong, persevere, and courageous in this new year and beyond. This was the charge of the Secretary to the State Government, Mr. Tokunbo Talabi, at the New Year Thanksgiving service of Ministry of Information and Strategy at Okimoson, Abeokuta. Ronke Adeyemi reports.
No duty is more urgent than giving thanks, because a thankful heart opens a multitude of blessings to us. In extending an arm of thanksgiving to God, the Ogun State Ministry of Information and Strategy converged for the interdenominational Thanksgiving service at Okimoson, Abeokuta. The service had in attendance commissioners, directors and information officers of the ministry, Secretary to the State Government, Mr. Tokunbo Talabi, enjoined the workers to be steadfast in their work engagement.
So this is a new year and a new beginning and a new level of confidence, a new level of courage. There is no dark cloud hanging over you now because the siege is over.
Christian and Muslim preachers charged everyone to embrace peace and make effectiveness their blueprint.
The Lord of hosts is with us truly, but you have something you must pay. And that is why my charge this morning is talking about impact. Living a life of impact.
Are those tenets you hold on to steadfastly, even in the face of difficulties? You are unwavering. My brothers and sisters, what are those things that you have been holding unwavering?
The Commissioner, Ministry of Information and Strategy, and Coordinating Director welcome everyone into the new year with words of admonitions and prayers.
We need to work together as a family. God that has brought us together in this ministry has a purpose for bringing us together at this time. We need to work more as a family.
I'd like to say congratulations and welcome to year 2022.
Welcome you to the new year 2022 with this message. There should not be unwarranted rivalry. Let us form a unity of purpose and a unity of strength and a unity of progress. It shall be well with us all in Jesus. Thank you very much.
Officers were admonished to be mindful of their utterances and also charged towards living an impactful life. Ronke Adeyemi, Ogtv News.
And still to come in the news, INEC issues notice of election for Ekiti 2022. More news and report after this time out. Don't be away. You're still watching Ogtv Main News. Thanks so much for joining us in part 2 of the news. The acting general manager of Ogun State Television, Mr. Tunde Kazim, has charged members of staff of the station to remain loyal and steadfast in the discharge of their duties. He gave this charge during the station's interdenominational prayers to herald the commencement of work in the new year held at the station's premises. Adebola Oshomoje reports.
The interdenominational service has been a regular gathering for the management and staff of Ogun State Television on every first working day of a new year. It is a gathering of praises, worship, and words of exhortation.
I never charge all of us this morning. One, to get ourselves prepared. Two, let us guard our loins. Three, let us put oil in our lamps. No laziness. No laziness. We have the light, Jamila.
It is expected of every staff to work diligently.
Acting General Manager of the station, Mr. Tunde Kazim, urged members of staff to be more dedicated to their duties.
And loyalty is the key. As a civil servant or public servant, as we call ourselves here, the only thing that the government expects from us is loyalty. We must be loyal to the government of the day. That is the key word, loyalty. And if you are not loyal to the government, then you cannot be where you are today.
Prayers were thereafter offered for the development of the station, Ogun State, and the country at large. Adebola Oshomoji, Ogtv News.
Still on the first working day of the year, civil servants and political office holders have been charged to seek after wisdom, understanding and apply it to their daily routine, as this is the key to a successful nation. Commissioner for Culture and Tourism in Ogun State, Dr. Toyin Taiwo, gave the charge at the interdenominational prayer meeting on the first working day of the year 2022. Tunde Olanero has the details.
In everything, give thanks, for this is the will of God, says the Holy Book. The management and staff of the Ministry of Culture and Tourism converged on June 12 Cultural Center, Kuto, Abeokuta, to thank God for a successful 2021. On the first working day of the year 2022, they offered fervent prayers for each free year. They also offered heartfelt prayers for the Governor of Ogun State, Prince Abeokuta, and the state as a whole.
That the Commissioner and I, there is nothing we can do without you. The success of the ministry derive from all of you. In your individual offices, where you are, your contributions, they are the one that aggregates to the success of the ministry.
The Commissioner for Culture and Tourism, Dr. Toyin Taiwo, gave the objective of the interdenominational prayer.
So we need to get him involved in the journey of our assignment so that we can be sure that we'll make a success of that assignment. So that's why we gathered everybody in the Ministry of Culture and Tourism together, whether you're Muslim or Christian, for us to come together, recognize God, and then pray and commit the activities of the year into the hand of the Lord.
He charged members of staff of the ministry to uphold integrity and faithfulness.
My message, as you heard it, is that they need to apply wisdom. Wisdom is the principal thing, and they need to get wisdom. And in all they are getting, they need to get understanding. Understanding will make you outstanding in every assignment that you are given as a civil servant. You need to get clarity so that you'll be able to do it as expected.
Dr. Toyin Taiwo also promised to continue to provide necessary tools and enabling environments for a successful and fruitful time on the job in 2022. Tunde Olanero, Ogtv News.
Meanwhile, Ogun State Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Professor Abayomi Arigbabu, has charged workers in the ministry to work with determination and be committed in order to add value to the sector. The commissioner who gave this charge during the prayer meeting to usher in the first working day of the year held at the ministry's parking space appreciated God on behalf of the management and staff for keeping them in perfect peace throughout the past year. Arigbabu charged workers to continue to cooperate with the management and government by contributing their quota to overcome the rising challenges in the education sector. He posited that workers are the driving force of any successful administration and admonished them not to be discouraged in discharging their duties to the best of their abilities, promising that management will continue to provide the needed facilities to make work easier for them.
I want to say that we should not be discouraged with maybe comments, negative ones. There are a lot of things to celebrate. A lot of things to celebrate in the education sector. And I want to say that even in the administration of His Excellency Prince Abeokuta, within the last a little bit over 2 years now, we can look at it if we want to be objective, and there are things that we can actually point to.
In the messages, the Director, Quality Assurance and Teachers Evaluation, Mr. Martins Akinsholu, and the Imam, Governor's Office Mosque, Alhaji Abdulaziz Adebayo, said that giving thanks to God for His blessings would continue to yield more goodness. The year 2022 is a transformational year as all ends are on deck by Ogun State Internal Revenue Service to ensure improved service delivery to the public. This was made known by the chairman, Ogun State Internal Revenue Service, Mr. Anthony Olugbenga Olaleye, at the prayer and thanksgiving session held at the premises of the agency to usher in the beginning of work in the new year. Margaret Okunlola was part of the event and now reports.
Converged on its premises were directors and staffers of Ogun State Internal Revenue Service as they kick off the year 2022 with praises to God for the just concluded year. In a message titled How to Gain Access to God's Wisdom, the preacher, Pastor Caleb Anyila, enjoined all to operate in the wisdom of God.
A person with wisdom is a productive person. It takes wisdom to gain more. This year will be a year you will gain.
Prayers were offered in both the Christian and Islamic way for a prosperous year.
Governor Abeokuta, Father, I ask for wisdom for them. But Lord, He will operate beyond measure this year.
The chairman of the agency, Mr. Anthony Olugbenga Olaleye, thanked members of staff for their cooperation and contributions to the development of the agency in the just concluded year, charging them to put in more effort in the new year.
For us as an agency, this is going to be a transformational year for this agency. We are going to deliver what we have never delivered before in this agency. What has never been delivered in terms of revenue collection. This year, we are going to manifest that in Jesus' name.
In attendance were special advisors to the Ogun State Governor on Revenue, who admonished staff to maintain optimum dedication and further build capacity for improved performances in the new year. Margaret Okunlola, Ogtv News.
Away from that now, the Independent National Electoral Commission has released its notice of election for the June 18, 2022 governorship election in Ekiti State. The Chief Press Secretary to the INEC Chairman, Rotimi Oyekomi, said that the notice was posted at the Commission State Office in Abeokuta on Tuesday. According to him, the move was in accordance with the timetable and schedule of activities for the poll released last year by the Commission. The Commission said party primaries will begin from January 4, 2022 and end on January 29, 2022. The timetable stated that campaign by political parties for the election will start on March 20, 2022 and end on June 18, 2022. Twitter users may soon have access to the social media platform, which has met the 6 conditions imposed on it by the federal government. The technical committee raised by the government to resolve the impasse between the two parties is fine-tuning the offers by the microblogger before making a final recommendation to President Muhammadu Buhari. The president is also awaiting the report of the committee to lift the ban it imposed on Twitter on June 4 last year. It was learned that the president had agreed in principle that Twitter's social networking operation be restored in Nigeria. There were, however, indications that the government plans to amend the National Broadcasting Commission (NBC) Act to include Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and other social media platforms. And from Akwa Ibom State, the state government has banned the activities of scavengers in the state. Secretary to the state government, Dr. Emmanuel Ekwem, in a statement said the ban is due to the acts of criminality and threat to peaceful inter-ethnic relationships posed by the scavengers in the state. He also said government action is also in consonance with public sentiment amidst popular complaints against the activities of these scavengers who want to only violate people's property, steal and assault law-abiding citizens in the process. Ekwem also expressed the state government's displeasure at the defiance of the ban on the activities of motorcycles within the Uyo metropolis and environs. He assured the general public that the government of Akwa Ibom State will leave no stone unturned in ensuring the safety of lives and property, as well as peace and security of the state. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, on Tuesday said the federal government is ready to deploy Super Tucano fighter jets against bandits and terrorists. He also said his office was in the process of gazetting a court judgment that ordered the government to declare bandits as terrorists, adding that the process will be concluded in a matter of days. On why the use of Super Tucano fighter jets and the declaration of bandits as terrorists has not been gazetted, Malami said the gazetting of a court order or judgment is a process, but what matters fundamentally within the context of international convention is the judicial declaration, and that has been obtained, adding that the court has declared bandits, kidnappers, cattle rustlers as terrorists. The police command in Katsina State says it recovered 109 anti-aircraft ammunition and arrested 999 suspects in various operations across the state in 2021. SP Gambo Isa, the spokesperson for the command, disclosed this to newsmen in Katsina. Isa said that the command also recovered various arms and ammunition during the period. He listed some of the arms to include 4 GPMG, 44 AK-47 rifles, 1 LA rifle, 1 G3 rifle, 20 locally made guns, and 689 rounds of ammunition. Isa said that 1,243 domestic animals, including 867 cows, 352 sheep, 24 goats, and 1 donkey, were also recovered. He added that 246 suspects were arrested for rape and unnatural offenses, while 63 victims were rescued in 4 reported cases of human trafficking and transferred to the NAPTIP office in Kano State. Up next is business news with Simiat Abaru.
You're welcome to the business news tonight. The federal government, ministries, departments, and agencies, especially financial services regulators, are to invest 1.54 trillion naira in 5 years to boost liquidity in the financial services sector, according to the federal government National Development Plan 2021. In 2025, the government is planning to raise the liquidity thresholds in each segment of the financial system to the levels that will support the growth and development of the country. The investment is also expected to strategically optimize all components of the nation's balance sheet to unlock the liquidity required to support the stability, growth, and transformation of the economy. The Office of the Auditor General of the Federation has disclosed that 15 ministries, departments and agencies failed to remit 127.13 billion naira revenue to the Consolidated Revenue Fund between 2017 and 2019. The Office of the Auditor General of the Federation disclosed this in its 2019 annual report on non-compliance, internal control and weakness issues in MDAs of the federal government of Nigeria for the year ended December 31, 2019, which has been submitted to the National Assembly. According to the audit report, the Finance Circular issued on November 11, 2011 requires all agencies to limit the utilization of internally generated revenue to not more than 75% of the gross revenue, while the balance of not less than 25% should be remitted to the Consolidated Revenue Fund, CRF. The Area 2 Command of the Nigerian Customs Service in Onne Port has said it collected 188.64 billion naira from January to December 2021 in revenues compared to the 69.68 billion naira it generated in 2020. In a statement, the Customs Area Controller of the Command, Controller Awa Muhammad, commended the officers for the feat. He urged his officers to not only sustain this tempo, but also improve upon this for the benefit of the nation's economy and national security. The World Bank has disclosed that Nigeria's debt, which may be considered sustainable for now, is vulnerable and costly. According to the Washington-based global financial institution, the country's debt is also at risk of becoming unsustainable in the event of macro-fiscal shocks. The bank said this in the November edition of its Nigeria Development Update. It said Nigeria's debt remains sustainable, but vulnerable and costly, especially due to large and growing financing from the Central Bank of Nigeria. OPEC and its allies decided on Tuesday to maintain their policy of modestly boosting oil output next month, as a rapidly spreading Omicron variant has so far not heavily hit demand. The OPEC Plus group, including top producers Saudi Arabia and Russia, has resisted U.S. pressure for a wider opening of the taps in response to high energy prices, fueling a surge in inflation across the world. The 13 members of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and their 10 allies drastically slashed output in 2020 as the pandemic wreaked havoc with demand. Last year, they decided to step it up again gradually as prices recovered, while reviewing the situation every month. And that's the end of Business News tonight. Many thanks for watching. Back to Bukola for the segment of the news.
Thanks so much, Simiat. Now for a news.